What's up, everybody? Hello. It is Sunday, the Labor Day Eve, and this is Christian Conservative. All right, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. I'm KJ, along with Michelle Talkington. How are you doing tonight, Michelle?
I'm doing fantastic. I hope everyone's having a great weekend so far. I know we are. My family and I have had a great time.
Excellent. Good. I am so happy to hear that. Yeah, it's been beautiful here in Maryland.
Mm.
So we have been blessed with the gorgeous weather all weekend long. And I think it's supposed to be nice right up until Thursday. So it's truly excited about that because I am one that loves summer and I hate this time of year. I don't say hate, but I really, I'm discouraged by this time of year because I just want the warmer weather to continue on. And I know this Labor Day is sort of like the end of summer. And you have some facts about Labor Day, don't you, Michelle, before we get
Yeah.
into this Sebastian Gorka video?
I mean, Labor Day has been around for a very long time. I don't think people realize since 1894. It was under, I think, President Cleveland, Grover Cleveland, who signed this. And it was kind of a result of a lot of labor unions that were working and there were strikes. And so he was trying to really make peace and say, look, we're going to do this. That last big strike, it was the Pullman strike. But it was a great way to kind of bridge that gap and say, we appreciate workers. We see what you're doing. All of the employees really make our economy go around. They make the world happen, or at least for us here in the United States. So it's great. I'm so glad we have it. I have a business, for you guys that know. So I close my doors and let my employees enjoy the time with their families. I really appreciate them and all the work that they do so that, we can put food on the table and in turn, they put food on their table. So it's a great time to take a break. I wish there were more businesses that kind of just took that break for that one day. I see why they can't, but it's nice to relax.
It is. It is. It's good to take a break. Americans are such hard workers. I've been working since I was 14 years old. And so I understand that, people, we're hard workers and we want to, make a good wage and we want to put food on our table for our families. I get all of that, but like you mentioned, family is important. Sometimes it's good to just take a breather. If you can, take a break, take a breath for just even if you do it for a couple hours, if you do it for a day, if you just try to do that. And so I always tell people that's a good thing. If you can, definitely do that. So folks, well, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Again, this is Christian Conservative. So from faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truths and stand firm on biblical principles. So again, join us as we expose the lies, defend our values, and fight for the truth in a world that desperately needs it. All right. Again, we want to say as you all come in, please hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. We already hit our goal for 5,000 subscribers by Labor Day, which is tomorrow. Congratulations, Michelle.
Congratulations, KJ.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. We worked hard. And we have built such a much larger community here. We want to thank each and every one of you all for tuning in, for chatting, for super chatting, for hitting that like button and subscribing. We love you all, and we're building a community, and we really appreciate each and every one of you. Without you, we would not be here, and we do this because we know it's desperately needed. The truth, building a community of Christians, of conservative Christians. I mean, all over the internet, you see all these different shows, political shows for conservatives. You have MAGA, you have all of which we are all of that, but nothing, there are not as many, I should say, as spaces like this where we combine our biblical beliefs and we tackle culture, we tackle politics, and we break it all down. This is where it is, what we do here on Christian Conservative. And so we thank you for sowing into us. All right. We already have a super chat. Looks like, of course, it's Kung Fu CJ with the first super chat of the night. Says, "To God be the glory, ladies." Thank you so much, Kung Fu. CJ. We really appreciate you, and of course, our fantastic, amazing moderators, Allie, Seven Dito. We have her here. Thank you so much for keeping the chat fun and engaging. I really appreciate you. We are also, of course, honorable mention for our super chatters, Lord Jammer 3000, Felix Horta. Thank you so much. Queen of the Silver Dollar. Thank you for coming on in here. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And for those who haven't super chatted or chatted, we see you here. We have over 30 people in the chat so far watching. Please hit that like button as you come in and subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. So let's get into this. We are still talking about this awful transgender violence against Christians. And want to tackle this today, talking about this viral video, this interview of Sebastian Gorka on CNN this morning. And he was on with, I think her name is Brianna Keilar, is the CNN host, and he went in on her. So, of course, CNN tried to say that, you know, there's no there with these transgender shooters. And so this occurred today on Sunday, CNN State of the Union. Sebastian Gorka is the White House Senior Director for Counterterrorism, and he was in a fierce debate with Brianna Keilar. I don't know if it's Keilar or Keilar. It's Keilar, over mass shootings committed by transgender people. What we want you all to decide. We have the clip here. And we want you all to decide, who do you think was correct in this exchange? And then we're going to break it all down because, folks, Christians are being persecuted. There is no doubt about that. They are being persecuted all over the world. And unfortunately, here in America, where we have a Judeo-Christian founding, and we're being persecuted. And the left, and of course, lamestream media is trying to say that this is a figment of our imaginations. This isn't happening. It's not what we're thinking. And so what do you think about this? Let's take a look here. All right, let's see here.
96% of attackers when you're looking at the U.S. Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center, looking at 172 mass attacks in the U.S. between 2016 and 2020, 96% were non-trans men. So I know you're focusing on this shooter being trans. The shooter was trans, and that is certainly of note. But are you missing the bigger picture here when you zero in on that instead of more broadly these school shooters as an epidemic, and you perhaps miss the through line that connects them all?
Well, no, because your facts obfuscate two things. You are using data based upon the predominant gun violence, which is gang-on-gang violence with zero ideological content. If you remove all of that, the gang violence on the streets of Chicago, LA, Detroit, then you come down to a much smaller data set. So it's like those who say, gun violence in America causes so many deaths, and then fail to note that the majority of the stats they are using refer to also suicides by gun, which of course is not what we are talking about here today. So let's concentrate on mass shootings at schools, specifically Christian or Catholic schools. Then the data set is wholly different. So don't conflate different data sets just to make a political point. There was an ideological content to this attack. That's what terrorism is. It's not because somebody didn't get the drug deal they wanted. It is an ideological message, whether it was anti-Israel, as in this case, whether it targeted President Trump in its rhetoric, as we saw on one of the magazines written by the perpetrator on that YouTube video, or whether we saw the fact that it was anti-Christian and targeting children. That has nothing to do with gang violence. Let's not mix the two things up.
So let's narrow it down then, because by CNN's count, when you look at 32 school shootings since 2020, in which you have 4 or more people who have been killed. So these are the larger school shootings. Only 3 of 32 of those shootings were committed by transgender shooters.
So let's stop her right there. Okay. So one, and I thought he brought up a very good point about the gang violence. We don't hear mainstream media talking about gang violence at all. At all. They don't touch it. And this type of violence is the number one violence that we've seen, in cities across the country. This is what's really taking out, and as they say, black and brown people by the hundreds, is the gang violence, and they don't mention it.
No, I said that last week. With the poor woman who lost her life, the elderly lady in the walker. Exactly. Because it doesn't fit the pretty narrative. They can't go after them as criminals because typically these gangs that are running rampant, this is not like old school New York gangs of New York where we're seeing the Italian gang versus the Irish gang, which probably still exists. I'm not saying it doesn't, but the ones terrorizing communities, terrorizing them, especially in inner cities, tend to be Black gang members or Hispanic, Latino. And right now, the Democrats see them as their meal ticket. You can't go after and attack the meal ticket because you're hoping you're going to have a great big dinner, a great big feast come next election season. So they need to stay away from it. And I love how intelligent Sebastian Gorka is. He's no fool. Mm-mm. He comes with the facts. He knows the data. And President Trump has surrounded himself this time around with people that do exactly this. They shoot straight, and there's, no pun intended on that. They literally eye on the target. They know what they're going to say. They're crystal clear. They have the facts to back it up. And then you have reporters like this that are stumped.
Right. Exactly. Here she is again. Let's see what he says.
Yeah, forgive me if I don't go with CNN stats, okay? CNN has proven itself to be wholly inaccurate in all kinds of things for the last 10 years, perpetrators of the Russia hoax, and that we didn't have an open border. So please forgive me if I don't take your stats for granted.
All right, it's simple math. 2 of 32
No, it's
shootings.
not. It's distortions. You are distorting the facts. Let me be clear. In just a couple of years, we have seen 7 mass shootings involving people of transgender nature or who are confused in their gender. 7
I saw what
in
you
just
tweeted.
the last couple of years.
I see your list of 7.
Inordinately high. So
I see your list of 7. 2 of them are Sebastian and Mr. Gorka.
With the facts and not CNN's pseudo facts.
We can't stick with your facts because they're not accurate. In fact, in 2 of them, one of the ones you quoted.
Let's talk about CNN's reputation for accuracy.
In one of the ones in which you posted, there was no evidence that he was trans.
Right.
In another, the individual was known within his family by male pronouns and used anti-LGBTQ
you have an agenda.
rhetoric. No.
So, all right. So let's look at what he quoted, because I have what he quoted here. I have did you check the list, Michelle? Here. All right. So he's saying 7. He's saying 7, and she's saying it's not true. Mm-hmm. So let's see here. So we have, of course, the one that just happened at the Annunciation Catholic school shooter.
Correct.
Definitely trans. All right. The second one, let's see here. Okay, Audrey Elizabeth Hale, Covenant School in Nashville. That was number 2. That was trans. This woman was trans. I remember that one. All right. The next one was here in Aberdeen, Maryland, at the Rite Aid Distribution Center. Perpetrator identified as trans in 2018. I remember that one, folks. We're here in Maryland. We remember this one. This was a Black woman, I believe. if I could recall. And she was one of these non-binary trans people.
Yes.
Then the third one, so was that, no, that was 3. So fourth was in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Let's see here. Opened up on a STEM school in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. It was a female who identified as a male. So is that 5 or 4? Let me see here. We got 1, 2, what's it? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. All right. 5 was Perry High School in Perry, Iowa. Let me see here. This was a they who
gender fluid.
Right. All right. That's 5. 6 is November 2023. This was a grand jury indicted 47-year-old. I don't like to name their names. It was a man who identified as a woman for threatening to injure people across state lines. He allegedly threatened to rape girls in girls' restrooms, shoot up schools, and to churches. All right. So that's 5. Here we have 6, 22-year-old in Colorado Springs in 2022, killed 5 and injured 25 at the LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs. While he may have falsely claimed a non-binary identity by the trans movement's rules, he counts as non-binary. Okay, so this one is the one I think that they're saying is iffy. Do you recall this one, Michelle?
Iffy's, I have my list here, which I have 9 on my list.
Oh, okay.
And I think they're narrowing it down to, like Sebastian Gorka saying, the last, since 2020. He's really counting the past 5 years. He's not even going that far back. And he's including those who specifically had writings or rhetoric that were against Christians or a very specific group. So we've already gone over 7. And last week, I went down my list of 9, which would mean if you're canceling out everything he said, if that's 20% of 32, that's a big number.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge.
It's not less than 0.05%. No, that shows a trend or a pattern. And if we could do something to eliminate that, that is important, but she doesn't want to hear anything like that he has to say anyways. Like you said, where he fixes his ear, there's clearly an agenda. That was mine. I was like, yep, you're right. Clearly an agenda.
Absolutely. And I don't think he even mentioned how these people are a very small fraction of the population. So the fact that we are actually able to count all these people, that we're talking about this, is an issue. Because they make up such a small fraction of the population, and they're committing these crimes. So that's a major issue. And not only that, but we've seen over the last several years how this group has grown exponentially because of the social contagion that is created by the left.
You're right. They've promoted it, encouraged it. They have given you financial incentive to be a part of it. Not only financial incentive, but they've also, on the flip side, threatened parents for not pushing this agenda in their own homes. So they're doing both. You're pretty much going to get a payout. You'll get this celebrity status. This is great. You can get surgeries. We can do all kinds of things for you if you like it. And if you don't, we're going to come after you, remove you from your family. We're going to make your life, living hell because you have Christian values, or because you don't even have to be Christian, because you just think it's wrong. So they played both sides.
Absolutely. And folks, what we said last week, this is a mental health crisis. The trans population has higher rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. Yet instead of real solutions, the left pushes more affirmation and drugs. Why? Because they see them as their golden gooses. They are a lifetime of or on a lifetime of surgeries,
Mhm.
of drugs, and all of this is it costs money. And so these pharmaceutical companies and these doctors and this whole industry become rich off of manipulating and abusing this very fragile a population. And what we are seeing here now is because they are introducing this and pushing this on a massive level on children, on young people, okay, we are seeing the results. And the media, like this cow, want to just brush it under the rug. Here he is. He's going to continue to get on her. I hope he sues them, because she was, like you mentioned, Michelle, they were pushing outright lies about this.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. You've made it clear, and this is not going to change. You think transgender people are the problem here. So what specifically do you think should be done?
No. When did I say that?
Mm-hmm. Right, you clearly think
when did I say that,
you
Brianna?
think it's a pattern?
You just created live. You just created live fake news. You just did it right in front of the
Gorka,
small
what do you think should be done here? You have zeroed in on the fact, on what you see is a problem, what you claim is a problem. What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about this problem you see?
I have noticed a disturbing. Do you think it's a problem that individuals are targeting little children at Catholic schools? Do you think that's something we should ignore?
Of course I think that's a problem.
You don't sound like it.
So what we should do,
I would love to see the stories, the investigative reports that these people, these so-called journalists, have done on these trans people. How about that? How about investigate this culture, this phenomenon, the medical industry? I mean, a real unbiased investigation, and put that out here for the people if you care so much.
No,
she doesn't care.
She doesn't care. And the reality is you can't trust the reporters because they know they're being fed and told what they have to say. I actually don't think she believes it. I think that these reporters know it's wrong, and they're not journalists.
Right.
They have great big sets behind them, all the best cameras, makeup artists, hair, you name it, but those are not journalists. They're not out in the field doing the research. So they have their papers, they're going to read it. And that's why we're seeing so many montage clips of reporters saying the exact same thing, maybe in 1 week, over 25 to 30 different stations. This is a narrative. She was prepped. She knows to come and saying these things, but I think when she leaves, she knows that she's lying and she doesn't care. They have such the vile hatred for the right or for Christianity and for morality that they will say and do anything, and they will actually believe their own lying tongues just to prove the point.
Absolutely. But he gets them really good. Let's keep watching. Sebastian Gorka on CNN, he really gets her.
Is we should look at the early warning signals, the signs. One of these shooters at a recent school shooting had 24 interactions with the local law enforcement.
Wow.
Now, that beggars belief. We should be providing off-ramps. We should be providing mental health options for these individuals. I find it hard to believe that an individual goes from getting his mother to sign a change of name certificate age 17, and then just a handful of years later is mowing down innocent children in a church pew during a Catholic mass, and nobody realized there was a problem. That's what we have to address to save the next children from the next atrocity. It's not a...
He's 100% right. And I want to jump in here really quickly because this is what we're talking about. The CNN, all of these mainstream media outlets celebrate this lifestyle. They celebrate drag queens, gender confusion, and chosen families while sneering at people like us. They sneer at biblical marriage and parenthood. They've convinced society that rebellion against God is progress, when in reality, it produces broken homes, fatherlessness, and despair, and the breeding ground for violence. But they don't talk about the other side. They only give you one side, and they provide it in a favorable light.
You're right. Well, because they have to they glorify immorality.
Right.
Right. They glorify it. But again, there's a big agenda. And it's not just them. There's a big agenda with big pharma. There's a big agenda with, and I see it in some of the comments. And you're right. Antidepressant medication, things that you have to put people on one way or the other. They say, oh, you're confused, so let's help you and give you medication. Oh, we'll help you transition. Let's give you medication. And even if you detransition, let's give you medication. Right. So there's so many things involved here. All the while, the reporters are smiling and say, there's nothing to see here. Everybody's just living their truth. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in the last, I want to say 5-10 years of my life. Everybody's got their own truth. And we know as Christians, there is the truth. Exactly. That is the word of God.
Yeah. He continues on here. Take a look.
About the sexual proclivities of the individual. It's the fact that nobody seems to notice a very disturbing pattern towards violence. You don't wake up one morning saying, I'm going to do a video on YouTube threatening to kill the president, targeting Jews, targeting children. That doesn't happen overnight. Somebody saw that degradation. Somebody saw those mental issues and said nothing. That's what we have to prevent. The early warning signals must be addressed if children's lives are to be saved.
And what about all the non-trans school shooters?
Oh my God. Here we go again. Is this woman serious?
I mean,
if she was really serious, she should talk about inner city violence. Yeah. What about that? You know, what you're talking about, the non-trans shooters, like what about inner city violence? How many reports have you done on that if you really care about the large violent nature or the violence that we've seen, the most violent parts of our country? Do you talk about that? No. But instead, you want to counter Sebastian Gorka when he's telling you that we're seeing this increase in trans shooting, and he says we need to get to the root of it. And then she says, well, what about the others? Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, what about that one time?
Yeah, I know.
Well, what about 20 years ago? We're talking about right now. This is fresh. This just happened. They don't want to hear. You see how quick they were to really demonize us when we called out that this was a trans shooter. And then on the flip side saying, oh, this, like that, what was it? The mayor talking about don't make this about hatred. We shouldn't come out against our trans community. And Sebastian Gorka is not coming out against any trans person. He is simply saying there is something wrong, and it's the trans agenda that we have issue with. Because frankly, the trans youth that we're seeing, it is not their fault. It's not their fault. This is a result of the media, of the drug corporations, of godlessness in our society, of churches. I'm going to call out everybody. Churches that are not preaching the true word, churches that from their pulpits are accepting of every kind of sin, including sexual immorality.
Right.
So we don't find fault in children. And he's right. There were warning signs, way too many warning signs. The same warning signs that come with criminals on the streets of New York and Baltimore. They get locked up 32, 42. We just counted 100 times, and they're let back on the street to kill again, to rob again, to carjack again. With the trans children or young adults, or I don't care if they're adults, there is something wrong. There is something wrong. There is confusion. They're addicted to the medications. And then when they're not on them, they're depressed. There is something wrong. And we know this is also a spiritual battle. So it's not just the person, but this is something that's preventable. That's what's getting me when I hear this. She's like, well, what about the other? This is preventable. And frankly, for all the mass shootings, crazy is crazy. We're just identifying a percentage, 20% of crazies that go on the attack that could actually be prevented.
Exactly. But you brought up a very good point about the parents. You know, it's not the children. And, you know, we pray for them. We pray for the children that somehow, evil is overcome and that, you know, they are able to get out of this demonic lifestyle, you know, and we just pray for them. We pray for that God delivers them from this and get these people out of their lives that are doing this to them.
Yes.
But what it is, parents, it's medical field and people, within the medical field that are pushing these drugs and things on these children at young ages. And we're also talking about people, parents and in the medical field that aren't providing other options for these people but they're only providing this one option generally, and this is their go-to because they know that this is a lifetime of money for them. They become golden gooses for the medical field, for everyone involved in this industry. And another part of this, though, are again, they push this type of lifestyle, and we're starting to see the fruit of this happening. So, for instance, we have this Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis. He was the CDC official and White House monkeypox response deputy coordinator. He became infamous because over his I think he was fired. I believe he was fired. But he had all these satanic tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
He had leather fetish photos, and he was really into promoting like this LGBTQ kink culture while holding this office in the health field. And so here's a video of him. This is what we're talking about, folks. And when you continue to have people in the medical field, in government, pushing these types of lifestyles, this type of advocacy, we are going to continue to have chaos, which we know this is what the left wants. Take a look at this. This is him talking about monkeypox. This is clip 4.
I work in HIV normally, and I'll tell you that, I always say that I've never made an HIV diagnosis in someone that hasn't somehow related to stigma. I think Mpox is the same. So really, stigma tends to be a barrier to testing, a barrier to vaccination. And so, really addressing stigma intentionally and making sure that we get the word out in a way that supports people's joy as opposed to, calling them risky. So I think, one of the things to think about is that, one person's idea of risk is another person's idea of a great festival or Friday night, for that matter. So we have to sort of embrace that with joy and make sure that folks know how to keep themselves safe.
Wow. All right. So this is what we're talking. This is the picture. If there was a picture of degeneracy in public office, it would be him. It would be him. And this is what we're talking about as far as the trans drugs, and they want all of this stuff to happen. That was Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis. He was Biden's point man on monkeypox and LGBTQ health initiatives. Now, he branded himself as a queer activist doctor. So he often appeared, that was a good day for him, but he generally appeared shirtless with all these satanic tattoos, pentagrams, and fetish gear on. What do you think of what he just said there, Michelle?
I mean, he needed to be branded a quack, not a doctor, not a queer. There was a time where we actually just said, look, you are a pervert. I mean, we remember that. I remember that in school. Somebody would do something like, why are you doing that? You're such a pervert. We've gotten so far away from perversion. And I was like, this guy's I just thought of it. I was like, this guy's a perv. Like, he's a perv. Yeah. I had an eel moment when I saw that, and I said, and then I, just going back to Christianity, I was like, no. Support someone's joy.
I know.
So that you don't say what they're doing is risky. And this is the problem. How dare you not tell the truth? We want everybody to lie because we want everybody to feel good. Well, that's Satan's trap. And this guy we know is demonic anyways. It's not just, we're not making it up. You can go look at his tattoos. He's got pictures of himself everywhere, guys. This guy is disgusting. And the fact that he wants it to say, oh, don't tell them that what they're doing is risky. Because what your risk is, the fact that he says what you think is risky is somebody's Good Friday night, is a good time. No, I'm sorry. If you have unprotected sex, it's risky behavior because let's remember he worked in the field of AIDS. Primarily. So
Right.
that is risky. If you are drinking too much and you get in a car, that is risky behavior. I don't care about your joy. Get an Uber. I don't care about your joy. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. If you're
Not only that, let's take out LGBT. Let's talk about intravenous drug use.
Thank you.
What is he saying? You're taking away somebody's joy by shooting up drugs, sharing needles, which obviously spreads HIV. Is that what you're not going to talk about how bad that is? I mean, this is ridiculous.
And that's why nothing I said had to do with being LGBT anything. It was just risky behavior is risky. And if you are considered a doctor, if you're calling yourself a doctor in the medical field and you don't have any sense of risk analysis to tell a patient, you should never work with another human being again in your life. In that profession, in your life, because in the medical field, it's not about feelings, like your emotional feelings, unless you're, therapy. It's like, but real do you need a shot? Do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need surgery? I don't feel like I need surgery. Well, your bone is sticking out. You need the surgery. Let's stop playing around and treating people like babies or like we're all obligated to make everybody feel good. And that includes not hurting their feelings because we don't want to tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth. Shame the devil. Shame on that man. Shame on them for bringing them on. It is the spirit of Antichrist. It is perversion. It is wrong. And it's to destroy society. They're trying to do a really good job at it.
Exactly. I mean, America used to demand integrity and moral seriousness from public officials, but now we get shock value. We get these quirky, perverted activists who bring this cringe, fringe culture into the mainstream. So when someone representing the CDC or the White House is more known for promoting kink in this nasty imagery than actual health expertise, it signals the collapse of standards. Yeah. And figures like this guy embody the left's agenda: destroy traditional morality, normalize rebellion against God, and present degeneracy as progress, as joy. I can't believe he said that. It's sick.
As a Good Friday, as a nice weekend, and we need to support it. Like Kung Fu CJ with the super chat. We'll read that one right now.
Yep. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah. So Kung Fu CJ, thank you with the $2 super chat that says, of course, we know from the Bible, they will call good bad and bad good. Yeah. And that's what they're doing, but it's on national television. It's in your schools. It's even in your churches. It's everywhere. It's been impossible to escape for the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is what Sebastian Gorka was saying when she tried to do a gotcha moment, but he got her instead. When she said, well, what is the root cause? And he basically said the root cause is the lack of morality. Mm-hmm. I think I have, that he says here, I had it here. I wanted to quote what he exactly said. I don't have it, but yeah, he basically said that the root cause is the lack of morality in our schools, in our homes, how government and leadership and society all across the board have tried to lower the idea of traditional families, and they have put up these fringe, cringe alternative lifestyles. And instead of them speaking truth, saying what a man is, what a woman is, we've got this stupid they, them crap that they were mandating people put in their email taglines. This is how we've gotten here. And he's saying it needs to be stopped.
It does. I hated when I had to do that for a couple organizations I was with back at the beginning of all of this. And if you didn't, they put it there anyways for you. They just chose if you were she, her, the whole pronoun thing, and then having to go back and fix all that. It's sad that clearly I'm a she, There's no, I don't identify as anything. I mean, I identify as mom and a child of God. I identify as the daughter of Christ, a lot of things, but I shouldn't have to explain that to you. And that's how far we've come, and we're still pushing it. We still haven't fixed this. We still haven't done. We need to do, the Uno reverse, whatever we got to do. We have to get this right, because it is destroying our nation from the inside. And really, we know it's destroying the nation from the inside for a different agenda. And I believe it is a socialist, Marxist, end time agenda. It's not even really about this trans thing. This is just the icing on the disgusting, sick cake that attacks our children and attacks women, real women.
Right. And I think he was fired. He's been fired since, I believe. Oh, he resigned. So I believe CZ vaccine chief Dimitri resigned. Okay, I guess he resigned when President Trump was elected. But I mean, folks like him, because he's just one man, but there are many like him in government. And so when we have a government like this that elevates people who despise God while silencing those who stand on biblical truth, then degeneracy becomes the culture. Yeah. And what we tolerate in our officials will filter down to what's taught in schools and normalized in society. And this is what they want. This is what they want to see. Because in the end, they want a society where they create all of these ailments like where they see this stuff become very prevalent, like HIV, like where places like, I think DC and Baltimore, this whole DMV area has more cases of gonorrhea, HIV, all of STDs than sub-Saharan Africa. I think it was something like this when you do population to population, at least with HIV, I know. And I know for gonorrhea, for herpes, all of those, we are like number one in the country for cases for those. Okay. So this is what they want. They want this to happen. So then they can prescribe or come up with some pill or some type of medical procedure where it's not cured, but maybe it's in a way where, it's undetectable, or, you can live with it. And, as long as you continue to take medication and then push this lifestyle over and over again, similar to abortion, similar to what they're doing with abortion. So that you have culture, society, and schools all over push this hypersexual climate, where, you can have sex with any and everybody, and you do it with no commitment and no consequence. And then they say, oh, but if you get pregnant, just have a quick abortion. You see what I'm saying? So they're creating these issues. They're creating, by pushing degeneracy, they're creating this issue, and then you have to pay to fix it. So they're getting rich off of it. And then on top of that, it leads to degeneracy in culture. And they're normalizing this. This is what Marxism is. This is what what's really a satanic culture is. This is what it is.
We're in such a weird state because we're seeing all of these moving pieces happen simultaneously, right? We're seeing this big push to Marxism or communism. And it goes towards this whole one world government, even with the coin system, the money, everything is kind of pushing towards that. And then politically, we're seeing where the far left, or even the Democrat Party, creates a victim class. They have to have a victim class. And that goes back to when we said why they won't call out gangs, because of the color, because of the demographic of that particular class. But this LGBTQ is not only that, it's adding to, like you said, Big Pharma's agenda. People are making money, but it created a brand new class of people that needed help, right? They need help. So we're going to watch out for this class. And because there's only so many of them, or so few, really they're a minority class. So now we have to add more programs for them and protect them. And then we have to have government come in to run those programs and to watch out for them. So they created this great big snowball. All the while, Satan is sitting behind the scenes, smiling, laughing at our faces, and Christians are refusing to call it out for what it is, even from behind their pulpit, which is just demonic activity. And people need to be prayed for. Again, everybody in that community. I am not against its agenda. I'm against, and really they need prayer more than the person who knows Christ, more than the person who's already born again. And that is actually what they need, to be born again. And they also need the daily renewal of their minds. But we're not talking about that anymore.
You're right. Well, the Bible talks about, I believe it's in Ephesians, we wrestle against spirit with war and
yeah, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities from the heavenlies. We have to recognize that, and we see that in this particular movement. And I mean, you physically see it. You've seen the videos of the men who actually believe. They got their little ponytails. Even this last shooter, when you looked at him, how could you not see something was wrong? I don't care if he was just sitting at a McDonald's. I would look at him and say, okay, something is wrong.
Oh, yeah. You know, his mother knew, you know, the father knew. Okay. And now they've lawyered up. So I don't know if you guys saw in the news, but they're talking about the mother has gotten an attorney, which I hope they put her in. And I know it's not possible, but she started this when he was underage. She started having him transition. Okay. So, you know, there was something going on there. I'm not too sure. There were some news reports that the dad was a CIA agent. Now, I don't know how credible that is. I haven't seen much about the dad, but I did read somewhere that he may or may not was involved with the CIA. So that's something very suspect there as well. But you know, until we get to the root causes of this, which is these parents out here with an agenda on these children, and they are pushing this transitioning lifestyle, then we're going to continue to have this unraveling of society. And instead of getting to the root cause, of course, they talk about guns. They're talking about taking away or banning firearms. Here on this today, this morning on the news was Ilhan Omar. And of course, she's talking about gun confiscation. Take a look here. This is clip 3.
You are calling for this assault weapons ban, which is something that Democrats have pushed for years. But even when your party has had control of the White House and both chambers of Congress, they still can't get this done. They couldn't get it done when Barack Obama had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. Why is that? And why should voters think it would be any different if Democrats had control again?
I do hope that this moment is not about Democrats or Republicans, that this is not about our political ideology, but it is about figuring out how do we safeguard the lives of our children. You know, Brianna, as a mother, I know that my youngest one, who's still in public school, worries about an assailant coming into her school and taking her life or the life of her friends and classmates. I know that the parents that have experienced this horrific attack are never going to forget that moment. Some of the children that have been impacted have younger siblings and older siblings who will carry this moment with them. This is about us as Americans coming together, saying this is not the kind of trauma that we want to continue to experience. I think the problem is that we oftentimes look at this issue as a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. We ask, you know, each side to have an opinion. But this is about our children. Our children don't have a political ideology. They deserve the right to grow up, to be adults, to raise their own children, and contribute to the future of this country.
Oh my gosh. Anybody else does she give you like a creepy crawly feeling, like a
No,
snake?
I don't even
Ooh, she makes me itch. It's just like she creeps me out.
see, she makes me just violently angry. She gives me the opposite. So if she were to listen to this, I would tell her to her face, you literally disgust me. You are one of the worst, unqualified, unpatriotic, un-American congresswomen that ever stepped foot into that building. And somebody needs to put your behind out, just like they did Dino the dinosaur, who tried to get in the Flintstones car. Send him packing to the Flintstones house. She's got to go. And she's right about one thing, because this is what a fool she is and how much she does not understand the Constitution. She's right. It's not about a Democrat or a Republican or independent issue, because it's a Constitution issue. You fool. It is about our Second Amendment rights. In order for us to protect our First Amendment, in order for us to protect our constitutional republic, not our democracy. You are barking up the wrong tree, and there's a reason this will never get done in Congress, because it is a constitutional right to carry arms. You're never going to have it happen. Like over my cold body, that's when it's going to happen. And that's why I say over and over, we are the largest militia. We are the last beacon of hope, even for Christianity. Right. It's us. It's us. It's Americans. Come at me, Omar, because you are a fool. And frankly, she doesn't deserve this office. She never has. And where was Free Palestine crying about the Israeli children that she doesn't give a dang about, that were murdered in their beds, that were crushed as infants? She doesn't care. She doesn't care about radical Islamists going through, terrorizing and raping women on a daily basis. She doesn't care about that. So this is just part of her talking points. And I wish she would sit down or go talk to somebody else and not the rest of us. So that's why she makes me angry.
You're right, Michelle. You are 100% right. But guess what? Why didn't the CNN pundit push back on her? She didn't. And you guys, go watch the full interview. She did not provide any pushback on the statements that she made. What you said was wonderful. I mean, those were great points that the CNN host could have pushed back. Now, had it been a Republican there, they push back on them with opposing viewpoints. But when the Democrats come on, they don't do that. And we never hear them do that. Rarely, I should say. Rarely do we see them do that. And this is why no one trusts CNN. This is why Sebastian Gorka said to her in the previous interview, I don't trust your facts. Because we know that they're very biased and they're not impartial. Before we get into this, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Folks, thank you all so much. Today is the last day of August. We do have a goal this month to hit in super chats. So tonight our goal is to hit $200 in super chat. That's a big goal. If you guys can help us reach it, that would be a huge opportunity for us, and we would really appreciate it. So thank you guys. Thank you for keeping those super chats coming in. Kung Fu CJ says she is on the run and dad is CIA. I did read that. He is referring to the Catholic school shooter in Minneapolis parents. So the mother has gotten an attorney, and I also heard that the dad was CIA. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and I heard I think LJ, that he worked for a company that works with the CIA. I just want to hear from him. Where's dad?
Yeah. I think the victims deserve to know. Yeah. You know, you have this trans shooter, and it's clear that this person was unhinged. And we want to hear from the parents. We want to hear who was the root cause of this, and why, or what steps, if any, did you take to alert the medical community, you know, law enforcement? How did this person continue on and was able to get guns? And you not alert anybody of their mental illness. Red Bucks here with a $10 super chat. Thank you. Says, hi, pretty Christian ladies. You make Sunday nights enjoyable and interesting. Keep it coming. Thank you so much, Red Bucks. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Yes, Kung Fu CJ again with the $2 super chat says we may have another junkyard dog, KJ. Yes, Michelle was on fire. Yes, indeed. All right, but all facts, Michelle. Yeah, all facts. You are 100% correct on everything that you said. Again, we've talked about this. Guns aren't the root problem, and honestly, it's the heart. And we're here as law-abiding citizens, arming ourselves for self-defense. Each year, Americans use firearms for self-defense over 1 million times, according to the CDC and DOJ studies. Gun confiscation leaves families defenseless, especially women and the elderly, against violent attackers. What we need to do is fortify our schools. If Ilhan Omar was really, if she was being honest and about what she was saying, if she really believed that, why don't she talk about fortifying the schools, having resource officers gun the people at the schools, putting up gates, putting up, one entry point, exit and entry points into these schools, fortifying them so that it's much more, our children are secure and safe. And studies have shown that in cases where these shooters were looking for schools to hit, they would avoid schools that were heavily armed, that were heavily fortified. They would go on to another school that was less armed and protected.
Well, she's part of the AR class who thinks that the AR means assault rifle, right? instead of Armalite, instead of a name brand. So they really, there's no talking points, and I think she's part of a larger. Specifically, she is part of a larger agenda, because we see, like I said, with radical Islamists and the community that she protects and those she speaks for, and how many people came in under the Biden administration, and that's the reason we're supposed to have a well-regulated militia at the ready, because it could come from the inside, meaning our government, or we can defend ourselves from the outside. And so if some type of massive attack from within happens, who's going to help? Our police officers, there's just not enough. So when they talk about larger capacity weapons, I speak to that to say, then how do we, with pistols, because they want to, come down to pistols, or you can only shoot so many bullets. Then how do we assist in protecting ourselves, our nation, or from an attack within? Right. We can't. That's the point. And that is what the agenda is. And I'm sure the radical Islamic, I'm sure communist China, I'm sure there's so many nations that would love to see Americans disarmed. And I'm telling you, you can quote me when that happens. It is literally the end of the world as we know it. It will be the end of our republic. It will be the end of what you want to consider democracy in the world.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, Michelle. And it's historically correct. Tyranny follows disarmament. Every communist or fascist regime started with disarming the public. Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, Mao's China. The Second Amendment isn't just about hunting. It's the safeguard against tyranny. Right. And we know this as a historical fact. And I wish that CNN reporter would have said this to her. I would have loved to hear her rebuttal. I would have. But we know they don't do that. They only do those types of opposition reporting or debating the interviewee if they are conservative, if they don't fit the agenda of the left. And so we know that the media and the left will continue to focus on the shooter. I'm sorry. Yeah, they won't focus on the shooter. They're going to focus on the tool, the gun. Right. So we will continue to follow this. But, again, as we've been talking about this, the real crisis is culture and it's spiritual. Yeah. Fatherlessness, broken families, drugs, glorification of violence in media, and rejection of God. These are the true causes of violence. Here's another example of this. This is a viral video online of a mom. Well, I'll let you see it. Basically, this was a mom going to her daughter's boyfriend's home, and she's upset because the dad roughhoused her son for, I guess, sleeping with. I don't know if they were having sexual intercourse or if they were on their way to do that, but they were actually getting intimate in his home, and he caught the teenagers doing that. And look at this mom's reaction. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. This is clip 1. All right, here we go. Interesting exchange here. All right, let's see here.
What's up?
You put your hands on my son?
I caught him in the bed with my daughter.
They don't give you a right to put your hands on my son.
He know the rules. He know the rules.
Okay, and I tell him the rules, but you, when it comes to my children, you do not put your hands on my child.
They don't go in the bedroom.
Understood.
They stay in the living room.
Understood. He put his hands on you, correct? Do not touch my child anymore. And I wouldn't touch your child. Don't
I didn't hit him. I didn't hit him. I roughed him up. I threw him out. He knew the rules.
It doesn't matter. You could have spoke to him. You didn't have to touch him. You didn't have to use physical force.
So did you even know who he was? Where he was?
He said he was going to a friend's house. I didn't know he was coming over here.
Oh, so you don't keep tabs on your own son?
Of course I keep tabs on my son.
That's crazy.
And you need to watch your mouth, because don't tell me what I'm doing. I'm telling you.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that, Michelle? Do you think the dad went too far, or you thought he was right on?
If that was in my house, I mean, that dad was mild, because that boy who's acting like a grown man would have had more than hands on him. He would have had a foot on him up his behind. He would have got his behind kicked this way, that way, sideways. Let a boy come in and try to do that with my daughter. And what she should have done, I don't know if she is a single mother, but she seems to be a part of this class of single mothers who think somehow that raising degenerate sons or daughters is okay. No, she should have said, my son tells me this incident happened, and I apologize because he knows better than to be in your house and on your property on your daughter. And I raised him better than that. No, clearly she didn't. She didn't raise him better than that. And like the dad said, well, do you know where he is? Do you keep tabs on him? No, clearly she doesn't keep tabs on him. And then for her to be as disrespectful, you better watch your tone to him. Oh, wow. That would have ended a whole lot. That man has the patience, I don't know, of Job. That man was peaceful. That man could have said, I'm calling the cops now. He could have actually called the police immediately and had him thrown in jail. She's talking about how she could press charges. Woman, please, I wish you would. Let's go to court. Because clearly somebody needs to put on record, thank goodness for the viral video, that you are raising somebody who is going to ultimately think that this behavior is okay. It's not okay. It's never okay. And I've seen a lot of clips, and I'm not just going, I don't care about the daughter at this. I'm talking about him. He said he roughed him up, and he said I didn't hit him. He grabbed him off and said, what are you doing? And kicked him out. He did the right thing as a father protecting his daughter. Where's this young man's dad?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this video really was a great depiction of where we are wrong, where mothers, they're wrong, you know, in some of these situations. She was way out of line, way out of line. If anything, she should have been there apologizing. Yeah. Apologizing for her dropping the ball on not knowing what was going on. Really is what she should have done. But folks, this is not a one-off, you know, and I'm assuming since she came and it wasn't the dad, that she was a single mom. And first I want to say, this is not I'm not trying to down single motherhood. I know people have to do what they have to do. And there's a lot of great single moms out here. I was raised by a single mom, you know, but first off, it's very different now. You know, when I was young, you know, I've said this before, I'm the oldest of four. My mother did not praise single motherhood. I mean, it was not a situation where she was proud to be a single mom, you know, and, you know, independent. She was proud to be an independent woman and all this type of stuff. It was so hard. I mean, so hard on my mom. And she said this, you know, this was something we knew. And she would always say, you know, when you guys get older, you know, get married, then have children, you know, and stay married. You know, she pushed that on us. So, but now in this new generation, these women, this is praised. And again, this goes back to this whole idea of the degeneracy in our culture. They praise this lifestyle. You know, we've gone away from, you know, young people getting pregnant and, you know, they taking a back seat in church and in public situations, you know, and I'm not saying to shame. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it should not be praised. It should not be something you put out there for everybody to see. And this is like a grand thing. It should not. But we've gone so far away from that. So now we have this idea where, you know, used to be if a guy would have, you know, disciplined a boy like this, you know, you would have had the mom say, hey, thank you, you know, for being there. You know, the dad's not here. Thank you for keeping him in line. No, she comes over and claims she's going to call the police on the dad. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
I want to hear from my super chatters or my stickers out there or super stickers. Hands up if you remember a time where you could get your behind whooped from the neighbor to neighbor before they made it to your parents' house.
Right.
Where they would snatch you up. My husband talks about that, where his neighbor would snatch him up. Oh, you're hiding from your mom. He would get his behind whooped maybe from them before he made it to his mom, and she would beat his behind, or discipline to say, oh no. And they would bring you over because right was right, wrong was wrong. You know, it was literally a community looking out for them. But now everybody said, that's my child. This is my child. I had an incident in my neighborhood very much like that. Children were vandalizing things. I called them out, and my area is recorded. And I know that. I actually have the recordings. So, but parents were getting defensive to say, well, all I saw was kids being kids. This is vandalism. They are encouraging, supporting, and justifying vandalism. And this is the same thing. They justify their child doing the wrong thing because they're my kid, because I'm the only person that can say what they're doing is wrong. It's fallen so far apart. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to put this blame on the Democrat Party. And I'm going to bring it to politics. Of course, it's evil, but the party itself fooled Black communities and parents, and it eroded. We're talking about in the 50s, 60s. It eroded Black families, parents staying together, and that value system of having a solid. The statistics right now are they're outstanding. They're crazy of how far we've fallen. For
70% of Black children, 70% of Black children, and 40% of American children overall are born in single motherhood households.
And the fact that Black children are a minority, what we consider have less population, their statistics shouldn't be that high.
Right.
But not only that, Planned Parenthood came in. Right. And all of our social programs came in. Planned Parenthood wanted to destroy Black children. Let's just look it up. Sanger as a demonic woman. She was always. And here we go. Let's kill these babies because I don't think they're the right kind for me. So not only that, let's put in social programs that include clauses that prohibit fathers from being in the home if you are going to receive your welfare benefits. So this is an entire structure that has gotten us to this point where we see these women that are raising boys to be boys. And I said it right, because they're not raising boys to be men.
Right.
They're raising boys to be boys. They're raising boys that are dependent on their moms. Because this boy didn't have a problem getting with that girl, but he sure did cry to mommy when a real man put his hands on him.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I think was missed in this that I haven't heard people address is we have a culture where these mothers now want to be friends with the children. They want to be buddies. And with single moms generally, they want to be the main girl. They want to be, and also kind of like buddies with these boys. And so what happens is this may have been a situation where she didn't have a problem with the boy and the girl having sex. And so maybe she knew and thought it was okay. And the dad, as we saw, didn't, and he caught them. And he put hands on the boy. So again, in past generations, both families would have addressed the sin of fornication and the shame of sneaking around. But today, we see the boy moms treat their sons like a victim rather than acknowledging their responsibility. And so, sometimes we see in these situations where these mothers are like, well, I'm going to let them, he has a girlfriend, and as long as he's, careful, then, I'm not making a big deal about it. And, and let them do what they're going to do, have sex. And, our culture most of the time has traded this virtue and self-control for permissiveness and blame shifting. So see, this is another issue. Back in the day, I remember when, you would go over a family member's house, and I think I may have been even in college, and you spend the night, maybe you brought your boyfriend or your a female buddy over, or whatever. You had to sleep in separate beds, even if you were a girlfriend and boyfriend, even if you lived together. I had an aunt who, if you lived with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and let's say you went over for Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving, and sometimes people spend the night, you were not sleeping in the same bed, in the same room with that person unless you were married. I don't care how old you are. Even like older people, like it wasn't even just college. If you were older and you had a boyfriend or girlfriend and you wound up sitting the night, she was not letting you sleep in the same bedroom or the room. You had to have separate beds. You could not sleep together. I don't even think that's done anymore.
It goes back to that. You ain't shacking up in here. That's the whole
right.
You're not going to shack up in here. I love that. And it's right. But we're such an immoral nation right now because it's become men are lovers of themselves. Right. And we promoted it. That's the whole trans agenda. This is about yourself, your feelings. The clip that we saw earlier where he said, you don't want to make anybody have a stigma. You want it's all about their joy. It's not risky behavior. So she doesn't see this as risky behavior. And again, as far as being single mothers, there's a lot of single parents struggling. I was a single mom. I remember that moment before I found my husband. So I get it. And I was a young parent that I wish that system had been set up. I knew it, but it wasn't set up the same because with a part of my family, that was fine.
Right.
They didn't say anything bad about it. In fact, it wasn't encouraged, but there was so much that went on in my childhood that, wow, we were exposed to a lot. I'll put it that way. And in the culture right now, especially in a lot of Black communities, we're listening to music, we're being in circles where they are promoting degenerate behavior. They promote immorality. They videotape it. These gangs of kids that go in and they're up twerking on the countertops of 7-Elevens and just acting a fool. And they're videotaping it. And then parents have the nerve to be angry because their child was called out being in the video. Like that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And you're right. There was a time where, no, you weren't going to shack up. No, we actually, even if you did that, it was kind of like, we're not going to talk about it. Like we're not.
Yes. Yeah.
We know that's uncle and auntie. There's no ring on it. They're not married, but they done been together 15 some odd years. Right? We knew that. And it wasn't glorified.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, this is why I love this channel, because we would at least have one or two family members that would still push back.
Yeah.
That would be that spiritual, auntie or uncle or grandmother or grandfather that would say, hey, this isn't right. I lived with my husband. I'm, my current husband now, but I lived with him for like a year or two before we got married. But let me tell you, it was the most uncomfortable time of my life. My mother, and again, my mom was a single mom, but she gave us total hell about living together. I mean, when are you guys getting married? When is he going to marry you? This is not right. She would say that every time we got together, every phone call, she was on my back, and it was so annoying. I remember this. But let me tell you, it was one of the things that pushed us to get married.
Yeah.
Pushed us to get married. Okay. I mean, and we're 20 years later. So, some people say, oh, how you can't rush the marriage or whatever. Look, you folks, do it right. If you can do it right. But I say that to say, there's where are the aunties, the uncles, the grandmothers? There's not many like that out here anymore that are still standing for biblical principles, for traditional values. I thank God for my aunt I got one aunt that's still alive that's still like that. You can't come in her house and shack up or you can't, do that kind of stuff. She still pushes back about it. And we really need that in this culture right now. And this video is going back to the video is about more than one argument. It's about a cultural epidemic. Boys without strong fathers end up testing boundaries. Mothers without male support often undermine discipline. And as you mentioned, Michelle, the result, a cycle of weak men, angry boys, and broken homes. Yeah. And these men need women of integrity, need that Proverbs 31 type of woman to show them, to be an example for how women are supposed to be. And we don't have that. It feels like we don't have a lot of that anymore.
No, Orange and Slinky says it's called living in sin.
Right.
And yes, our entire culture is living in sin. And even though it had been, there was always sin around, it was called out. Right. And that's where we're not calling it out. And it's not even anymore where it's, why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free. Now there are books written about how you should test it out first. Make sure you're compatible, how to live together and share your expenses. Like it's like a commercial that tells you how to be with somebody that has nothing to do with biblical foundations. It is so far from biblical. My grandma, we called her Medea, but Medea used to say she didn't want me around certain cousins because of their behavior, because they all had children early. And those cousins told me later in life these stories like, grandma was always on us. She didn't want us with Michelle because she didn't want Michelle and my little sister to be around, have this kind of thing happen to them. She didn't want them teenage moms and blah, blah, blah. So my grandmother, Medea, looked out for me in that way, and I didn't even know it. And the reality is, she was a praying woman, and she wanted to break a generational curse.
Wow.
She wanted to break the tradition of having young moms with no spouse, or a spouse that ended up running away because you were with the wrong man. She wanted that to end. And ended up, I had a young child, but I would go on to find my husband, and I got it. I get it now. That's why I don't ever demonize. I'm saying that is demonic. Mm-hmm. It is sin. It's not okay. It's not okay. God does not like it. So even if you're in it, turn from your sin. Repent. Where's repentance anymore as Christians?
Wow.
We don't even repent.
Right.
And I mean real, true repentance where you acknowledge what you did and you actually have to turn away from the behavior. Now, it may take time, but that's what God calls us to do. But no, here we glorify. I am proud that at least in my family with myself and my husband, we're breaking that. And our children are growing up and they're finding their spouses to be. And that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. I 100% agree there, Michelle. Well, folks, that does it for us tonight. We want to pop on here before Labor Day to just, our Sunday night live show. We will be back on Thursday night, same time, 9 p.m. Michelle, what are your final thoughts for tonight?
Oh, I want all of those of you who labor, who go through and who work to just take some time to not only to yourself, but some time to thank God for the blessings he's given you, because he gave you the hands. He gave you what you have in your skill set to be able to make money, to be able to provide for yourself and your family. So in this Labor Day weekend, it's not just about taking a break from your job. It's being grateful for the job, because we serve a God that always provides.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, that does it for tonight's episode. If you were blessed by this conversation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. The like button gets us out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. We're here to stand on truth, speak life, and fight for faith and family. Until next time, keep your eyes on Christ, your heart rooted in truth, and your voice unshaken. God bless.